Doug, tell me something good.
I was just gonna do a song for you or something because you don't want me to sing. So,
Well, Rick said he would sing, but he's not here, so maybe he got nervous of having to sing. So uh
it's,
that's
it's
disappointing. I like my music. It usually gets the vibe going, but we'll go with it.
well, the market's singing, Brett. That's a good thing.
The market is singing. So let's start there. So what's the feeling? Like we're going to look at data, we're going to look at numbers, but what's the feeling in the marketplace right now?
Well,
I have listings that have been sitting, and I'm getting like this weekend. I've had no showings for almost 2 weeks, and I had four showings this weekend in 2 days,
Okay, that is
and it was at lower price points. So, yeah.
okay. I mean, I'm hearing showings are up. I'm hearing phone calls are up. I'm hearing people walking into open houses is up, but confirm or deny.
yes, we had our first five listings all go under contract in 3 days, and they're all had multiple offers, all in different areas, all different price points, from 350 to over 1 million. It's just, I think if the home is showing well and it's priced in market, there's opportunity everywhere. If it's
Okay,
overpriced, it's the same old story. And if it doesn't show in good condition, it's the same old story. So,
got it. All right, well, let's jump in and look at the numbers. Austin, you're my co-host.
I am. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so Fulton County, let me expand it here. On the last 7 days, had 616 active status changes. Good or bad? What do you think, Austin?
I think it's a good sign that our market is growing with inventory, but I also think, Brett, if we look over just a little bit more, we're seeing that pending number go up, so things are moving.
Oh, 100%. I think real estate is very much like most business, a relationship between supply and demand. So we need the supply to go up and we need the demand to go up.
Agreed.
And so if supplies come up ever so slightly, our active under contracts 144. We had 146 last week, but those two numbers for the last 2 weeks are drastically higher than what we saw the previous weeks this year. So in Fulton County, big pop in properties going under contract. 309 pending, which to your point, Austin, is the highest number we've seen year to date,
It is.
like by far. And the closing number at 261, which I find interesting, and I've seen this across the board. The second week of March or the first full week of March had more closings than the end of February, which is not normal because we normally have our biggest week of closings at the end of the month. But to have 261 properties close out in Fulton County in the last 7 days, if you look back to the beginning of the year, that's a big number. And that it just speaks to this feeling that we're really moving. If I jump down to DeKalb County, I'll expand it. We had 350 active status changes, which is the most we've seen, with the exception of that first January 12th week. Um, so there's certainly a significant increase in active status changes in DeKalb County with 98 going under contract in the last 7 days. Largest week year to date. 186 are pending, which is largest year to date. And same story. Look at that big closing number in DeKalb County, like 163 in the last 7 days. Austin, that's your market. You're the team leader in Decatur. Like, what are the agents saying in DeKalb County?
Brett, I walked in this morning and first thing we had Monday morning was staff meeting and the amount of escrow checks that John walked in with that needed to be deposited. I mean, it was a thick stack this morning. And so from what our agents are saying, things are definitely picking up here for sure.
Yep. All right, let's do Cobb. So Cobb County had 380 active status changes, which is largest year to date. 106 second time this year they've had triple digits of properties going under contract. Largest year to date. 199 pending, largest year to date, and 192, if my eyes don't fail me, properties closed in the last 7 days.
Um,
I mean, that is a huge number. What do y'all make of these numbers? I mean, I started the call with what's the feeling? Here's the data. What is the perspective of what's going on in the market right now?
So,
It implies
Brett, this is
spring
Stephen
markets
Scholl.
early.
Go ahead.
Hang on, Steven first, and I'll come to you, Rick. Steven?
Oh,
No, I was just going to say I've got clients that are in a lot of different pockets right now, in Decatur, and then also like in the Sandy Plains, Cobb County area. And I mean, even the shape of the homes, it's not even, they're not taking that into consideration right now. It's like, it's a little strange for me. It's like the homes that are not in great shape, still, if it's priced okay, flying off the market, having to race to get my clients into houses before multiple offers on something 6 months ago would have been sitting there just because it had carpet, right? Or it needed to be painted. So I think the perception is if it's there and we can manage it, let's go ahead and go for it. And that's in two separate markets, and it's a lot of time management getting people out to where they need to be. That's for sure.
Got it. Go ahead, Rick.
it appears to me that spring's springing early. That's all. The progression is undeniable in terms of closed volume. It's exciting. If you're not getting your unfair share, maybe rethink how you're deploying, your lead gen and your conversion.
For sure.
You
Any
know,
other
Brett,
thoughts?
I think it's
Go ahead.
interesting that a couple of people have mentioned if it's priced correctly, right? And so I think equally as we have a number of agents in our market center talking about the successes that they're having, there's also a number of people that are struggling to get offers in or showings dependent upon their pricing.
Well, it's the haves and have-nots, right? It's
100%.
we talk about this all the time. It's like the effect of overpricing a listing, how many more days it sits on the market, what the bottom line net to the seller, the effect of overpricing a listing. And there's a conversation coming up around skill sets, specifically around conversion, but this is also a skill set that separates the great realtors from the average realtor, right?
100%.
All right. So mortgage rates. As of close of business Friday, it was 6.14. If you remember, last Monday at close of business the Friday before, it was 5.99. Now, we knew when we were on this call last Monday that the conflict of Iran had happened on Saturday, and we anticipated a movement of mortgage rates. Well, when I looked on Monday last week, they had jumped from 5.9 to 6.14, and they have stayed at 6.14. So I don't anticipate a lot of movement happening around these mortgage rates right now. And I think 6.14, knowing the economic disruption based on what's going on globally right now, I think that's probably what you'll expect. And I don't expect a lot of movement. I was a little nervous that we were going to have a volatile mortgage environment there for a minute, but it really hadn't affected it that much outside of the 0.15 increase from pre-Iran conflict. Got it? All right. Rick's going to call this clickbait, and I don't disagree with him. The headline on Housing Wire says housing demand is up. So you saw the numbers. The numbers are up. Does that translate to housing demand being up?
I mean, it's been 10 days. I don't know that it's how, I don't know whether housing demand is up. I don't know that Iran is necessarily impacting that on the local level yet.
No, but I think year to date, housing demand is up for
Yes.
sure. Is
We're seeing,
invent
but we're also seeing inventory improving in pockets. Like, I don't know that that's an accurate, that's again macro news.
So if I go to our stats and I go down here to housing statistics
Well, just
and
look
I
at
click,
active.
yeah, hang on. So month supply of inventory. In January, we were 5.12 on attached and 3.7 on supply. And if you look at December, it's up, but it's certainly down from what it was last summer. So I think it depends on how you look at it. Is inventory down from last summer? Yeah, it's supposed to be down from last summer. That's what normally happens. Um, the big question, and to keep our job on this call, I say it a lot, is not to give political interpretation or right or wrong or good or bad. Our job on this call is to try to interpret what's going on globally and nationally and what the effect of the real estate market is going to feel from it. And I'm going to make my statement and then throw it out to you guys. I don't see this Iran conflict disrupting the real estate market, certainly not in the short term. I haven't even, ironically, I feel like the real estate market's almost ignored it a little bit and just kept going the way it was going. That's what I believe. Now, I do think there could be some long-term effects if oil prices go up and gas prices go up and it affects people's disposable income. Or I know oil is an ingredient that goes into manufacturing, so the cost of new construction could be affected, the cost of appliances could be affected long term. But in the short term, I'm not seeing it affect our income, much less the greater real estate market. What do y'all think?
You know, Brett, I agree with you. I think as long as the cost to acquire some of these products that go into building, we'll probably see things maintain. If rates creep up, I think that has the potential to impact us. But really, to Rick's point, I mean, we've only been in this conflict for 10 days, so it may be too soon to really tell.
Duration
I would
will
agree with you.
direct, duration and ripple effect will dictate. It all lands on consumer confidence and what we read and what we believe and the real impact. And if it shows up in your wallet, that's an immediate, you're going to see the impact. And so far, there's been some short-term obvious hikes, and I almost think the oil industry runs with the narrative and creates pricing based on what's coming, not what is. Because in the first 3 days, it was already gas prices were going up, and I can't imagine that oil shortages occurred in 3 days as a global reality. But again, I'm not an expert, but I think the consumer confidence piece will, there could be some impact if this goes on.
Yeah. Manny.
This is why I love Rick because we're learning from the best here for sure. That's what I was going to add. The piece that I've been seeing as I'm having conversations with my sphere and others in the real estate market, where we are, I think, going to see some of this is the consumer confidence. And the one part I would add is some social media aficionado here. I think we should be watching what our clients are consuming because there are a lot of feelings that people are having. They're not even based on the facts or, the numbers like we're kind of like y'all just explained. But what they're seeing, what they're feeling is important when we go on these listing appointments and, conversations we're having. I think that's where we're seeing the more immediate is how are they feeling about all this?
Sure, because they're consumers like us. They're consuming 24/7 news right now.
Yeah. And we stay so busy that I don't have the time to scroll really, but I'm putting it on my calendar because I have to know what they're looking at because that's what I'm up against.
There you go. All right.
And it's not always
Um,
correlated one to one. So even like COVID, I have to confess, at the first week or few of dealing with COVID coming in, I thought this is going to be bad. Like, how can people not be in lockdown? How can people not be? And on some level, we were, but crystal balls aside, the ripple effect of the mentality of wanting more out of life and fighting for today and not worrying as much about tomorrow and recognizing the gift of health. I mean, there were so many ancillary, I'd say almost benefits. And it obviously the effect on our market, the housing market and our income. And I mean, it surprised me. So my advice there is just stay curious. And to Manny's point, pay attention and instead of professing fact, ask questions that build relationships with your clients.
Sure. All right. I also want to put this article on here. This one's off of Housing Wire as well. And the headline says negative jobs reports keeps mortgage rates calm amid surging oil prices. And the purpose of this article to me, and obviously I'd love to hear other thoughts, is I think the consumer believes it's a one-to-one relationship, meaning this happens, oil prices go up, so it's going to disrupt mortgage rates, or a job reports down, it's going to disrupt mortgage rates. And the reality that I have learned in my 27 years in real estate now is that mortgage rates are a very complex formula. It's never a one-to-one. It's what's the job market doing? What's the international market doing? What is inflation doing? And all those things have complexity to it. So, but I think the consumer, and I certainly think the media tries to simplify it, saying this is going to happen because this happened. And the reality is it's much more complex than that. And to the headlines speaking to this, it's saying, look, the negative job report, which means that the labor market is not as favorable right now, is keeping mortgage rates calm. And it's probably offsetting any of the impact that the oil prices are doing. Any thoughts?
I think it all comes down to the narrative and the stories and the conversations you're having with your clients over is now the right time to make a decision to either move, buy, or sell. And ultimately, I think we can all agree mortgage rates are probably not going to significantly drop anytime soon, like well below 6. So I think now's as good a time as you'll find on the horizon, and the conversation can shift to personal opportunities and in the marketplace. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just as always, there's a lot of clickbait headlines running around, but at the end of the day, fear is a far bigger motivator and driver than opportunity, and we have to eliminate fear. And I think mortgage rate stability is a really good calming conversation.
There you go. All right. I've slapped this article up here for us, and I debated doing it because I think when something says new agent, I think it triggers a lot of real estate agents. But the truth is, this is an all agent conversation. And it says, if I was starting my real estate career in 2026, here's exactly what I would do. But there's two big talking points in this article. The first one says, put skills over lead generation. And it said I would start obsessing over skills development before I ever obsessed over lead generation. So you realize our industry has a relationship between lead generation and lead conversion. And I think agents focus on lead generation as they should, but they don't over focus on lead conversion. And here's what I mean. I'll give you two examples. Let's say, Austin, you had an open house this weekend, and 10 people walked into that open house, and one of the 10 had temperature in the sense that they might buy in the next 3 to 6 months. So you get back to the office on Monday, you're hot to trot on that one buyer that walked into that open house, and as you should be. But my question is, what about the other nine?
Yeah.
Because top agents systematize the other nine. Top agents focus on conversion of the other nine that came to that open house. And the other analogy would be, I know I could go buy 100 leads on Facebook for about $150 or meta ads, right? And most people know there's some junk in there. And I'm probably going to find one out of 100 that's got temperature, that's a good lead. But what about the other 99? Because the truth is, we can put leads and names in front of people, but if there's no conversion skill around it, or no systematic follow up around it, or no database that's dripping on them, it's kind of wasted money. And this is, fundamentally, is the difference between great agents and average agents. What do you think?
Brett, I agree. The number of agents that I meet with on a weekly basis when we talk about what are you doing with the leads that you capture, and they tell me that either A, they live in their phone, or B, they live in their head is wild, right? And so I've always been of the mindset that literally the more leads that you can capture, the more opportunities that you have to convert them. But unless you are going after that conversion, chances are they're just sitting somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember just having stacks of papers of like sign in sheets when I would do open houses. And full disclosure, I never put them into a database.
Yeah.
I probably should have. I never put them on a drip campaign. I probably should have. I never brought them into my social media world. I probably should have, right? Um, and that the conversion is where the real money's made in this industry. And I think that it's a lost art. Rick, what do you say?
Leads are like knowledge. You can have tons of it and be the smartest guy in the room, but if all you have is knowledge, you're going to win at Trivial Pursuit and not win the game of business. And so to me, you got to have the lead to have the conversion, but if your conversion is the one area that you can put your thumb on that'll lead directly to income. And I think conversion relies on 3 and 4 deep questioning and interrogation lovingly. And like it's about asking better questions. And it's about face to face, belly to belly, and toe to toe. Reminds me of my kids when they were on Xbox playing video games, and I'm like, why don't you go outside and like hang with real friends? And they actually believed in their minds that their friends around the world on their Xbox game were friends. I'm like, that's like a directory in your phone, not a database that's relationally rich. And make sure that you're combing your database for fact based. Are they really advocates for you? And what do I have to do to earn the right to be that you would advocate for me, my business, and what I represent, and helping people live a bigger life and experience wealth building through real estate? So I don't know if that helps, but that's what I think
Oh,
of. Conversion is everything, and it's all the conversation is the relationship, not likes, not clicks, not little hearts.
well, hang on. That's the next topic.
Just
So
I got
the
ahead of
the
myself.
second topic, which I want to spend a little time on, says focus on relationship building, not likes. And I want to be clear, I'm a proponent of social media. And what this advice is saying is social media alone does not create relationships. And the five little things that says this business still runs on trust. I would prioritize real conversations over curated content. I would call people instead of just reacting to their stories. I would meet for coffee. I would host small gatherings. I would build a true database, not just a follower count. Austin, you're a social media guy. Rick and I are aspiring social media guys. And this business is still done by relationships. What do you think?
Brett, I think that social media is a great tool to aid in building those relationships and staying engaged. But just like we were using in the open house example, I think a common misconception is that we can't lead generate around things that are free. And oftentimes, agents get caught up in trying to get this content posted that there's no system on the back end of what are we going to do and how do we nurture these relationships once we get a follow or a like, that if we really boil down what we're spending in terms of our time to generate these conversations or this engagement, for some of us, it's pretty expensive, right? We're spending a lot of time, we're gaining some traction with followers, but that's about the extent of it. We're not pushing them into any sort of funnel or seeing whose temperature is warm, who's raising their hand and focusing in on truly engaging with your people in a way that's meaningful for them, where they know, like, and trust you from behind the screen, makes meeting with them face to face that much easier.
Yeah. So what's funny, Rick and I had two similar but very different experiences over the weekend. So, Rick, can I tell everybody?
You can tell I think everyone knows if you're on
Rick
Facebook.
Rick just became a grandparent for the
Woo,
first
woo.
time. His official name is now Rick Pops Hale.
Just pops.
Just Pops. And but you posted this on social media and you had a lot of interaction, right?
Yeah, like 180 comments so far, which is pretty awesome and record breaking on some level. Like I'm not a Mon Heisler over there that's getting, 50,000 hits because no one's funnier on. If you're not following her, by the way, she brings humor to life that's unlike most. So shout out. And I got a lot of hearts, thumbs, congrats, which felt very what's the word? Programmatic, or maybe. And again, if you said congrats, know that I love you and I appreciate, and I read every single one. But if you took time to write a couple sentences about the joy and gift, and you went and listened to the song that I had created with AI celebrating Hayden's first birthday and her first breath, like you just took whatever the law of reciprocity was just 10x'd. I now
Yep.
owe you for sharing and showing that level of feedback that's not a boilerplated click. Does that make sense?
100%. So let me tell the other half of the story.
Go for it.
So Daniela, one of our assistants, had a baby about a month ago, and I went and saw her over the weekend and took her a little Keller Williams onesie for the baby. And she took a picture of me holding this baby, and I posted it. Or actually, Daniela posted it. I shared it over the weekend. I got nothing short of 40 or 50 congratulation texts or direct messages as if I was had a baby myself.
So did they
And
not
I
read it?
even got one that said, "Congrats! I thought you were a grandparent." I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that. Here's my point in this. If they had a relationship with me, they would have known that wasn't mine. But they don't have that relationship with me, or they didn't have a deep enough relationship with me. They had a social media relationship with me. And to Rick's point, people know it from a relationship standpoint that that was his grandbaby because he'd been talking about it for months. Hubert, what's your thoughts?
Well, as someone who built their business based upon social media, I agree with all of these. And you have to get social with social media. So if Rick was my client, I would have seen the post. I would have immediately put a box of Pampers to his house and say, "Hey, here's your first box of Pampers. I'm looking forward to working with you in the future." And so that takes
Yeah.
it offline. And so that makes me differentiates myself from all the other folks who are just liking and posting. It makes it real. And so when he needs to buy Pampers, who is going to think about first? Oh, Hubert got that my first box, and now we like Hubert. This gets me to move into a new house to
I love it.
accommodate his
Yeah,
new
I
child.
agree. I agree with that. I use social media as a lead as well. I would get on camera, but I'm not. I'm not natural
You're
habitat.
fine. We're happy
So,
you're here.
but yeah, I echo what Hubert is saying. You know, what I do is like, for instance, this young lady I met on Instagram, she at one point was, ready to purchase a home and then she lost her job. And, when I did my, my check-ins and things like that, reached out to her and she told me, what happened. And I said, "Hey, send me your resume. I'm connected with folks in corporate and stuff like that. And maybe I can, get you connected with one of them." So, and I did, so, and then another young lady who I met on social media, she had a baby. And it's just, and, and I, they follow me and I, when they pop up, I like comment or whatever, but it's behind the scenes, like Hubert said, it's like you get a little deeper with them and they get comfortable with you. And and I went to what is it? Baby shower. Went to a baby shower about a few weeks ago. I was invited to an event, met some people out there. So it's just uh it's not the likes, the whatever, the fake comments that I call it fake comments. It's who you want to build a relationship, because I'm strategic, who you want to build a relationship on social media, because not everyone is maybe, in the pipeline you would like. Then take that and harness on it and build on it. You know what I mean? And then you'll see that people who follow them start following you and on and on. So it just you have to be strategic about it because it could be overwhelming, it could take a lot of time, but if you're strategic and have a system together, it's a whole lot, much more easier.
There you go. Well, listen, guys, we're out of time. So just know we love and we cheering for you every day. I think the market is giving us some gifts right now and momentum, and let's go ride it.
There it is.
There goes Pops.
Take a disproportionate interest in people and watch the magic
Hey man, how's it
happen.
going?
Do something other people aren't doing, and you'll recognize results other people aren't getting.
There you go.
All right, guys. Good to
Bye,
see you. Thanks
guys.
for turning on cameras. You look beautiful.